on and watch this, but I'm gonna save it and put it back on the site, on the group for everybody to see. I promised people before that I was gonna do a video on how to wrap a tumbler, or at least the way that I wrap the tumbler. And anyways, yeah, this is gonna be it really. So before I start, I always wipe my tumbler down with alcohol, rubbing alcohol, or even Windex, something to get that. There's like, it kind of feels almost, not really oily, but feels like there's some kind of coating on the cup. So you want to clean it off really well before you start wrapping it. And then I start with the cup upside down. The mouth of the cup I put down on the table so it's flat. And I take my print is upside down, and I have my print cut. So at the edge of this here, there's actually some of the cup showing. Don't try to wrap the paper around this curve, because that is not going to work. That's how you get those little white flares into the cup. All right, so put the cup down, kind of slam this down on the table. Not really slam it, but you know, it's flush with the rim of the cup. And then when you pull it around, sometimes you have to do it twice because it doesn't always cooperate. When you pull it around, you want to check this seam here. This is the one that matters. Make sure that these two are flush. Okay, the bottom one, sometimes it's going to be off a little bit, and that's all right because it's on the bottom of the cup. Don't try to perfect it because you're just going to get it off more and you're going to be frustrated. So once you have it on the table, I leave a little bit of an overlap. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not much. It's maybe like 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 at the very, very most. All right, and then pull these tight, like you're almost like you're pinching the cup. Take your heat tape and start in the middle. Okay. Secure this end here, kind of burnish it down with your finger, and then pull it tight to the point where you're almost going to break the tape. And if you break it, take it off and get another piece of tape, okay? Pull it tight. And as you're pulling it tight, you're pinching up with your thumb on this side to pull those two pieces of paper, you know, to get that as tight as possible. Because the key is to have the paper as tight as you can against the cup, okay? Take another piece of tape and do the same thing at the bottom. And you're almost to the point where you're going to break the tape, okay? And that's going to kind of like clamp that together. And you're going to get like a little tiny ripple here in the paper. You can see that. Don't worry about that. We're going to take care of that in a minute. Do the top. Get another piece of tape. Doesn't have to be super close to the edge. Mine just ended up by the edge, but I usually don't put it that close to the edge. So you're going to have 3 pieces of tape, all right, just like so, the middle and then the 2 edges. And then get some green painter's tape. The blue one, it works, but it doesn't stick as well, and it leaves a lot of residue when it's heated up. So I use the green one. This is Scotch brand 233 Plus. I don't know if you can see that. This is the one that I've always used. It's a little bit more expensive than the other stuff. It's automotive painter's tape, but it works good. So I've been using it because that's what I know works. Go about 1 inch more than the cup along the seam and put it before the seam. Don't put it over the seam yet. I'm going to show you why. Okay, so you can still see the seam is, can you see that? The seam is exposed there. All right. So put it down on the table and you're going to roll it towards you and push down, okay? Now all those that little, whatever you want to call it, that was raised up a little bit in the paper, now it's all nice and flat. Everything's flat. Then I take the top and I roll it over. Don't stick it all the way down, because this little flap that's left over here, that's what you're going to pull it off with when you pull it out of the oven, okay? Then the bottom, just kind of pull it first in the middle and roll it down with your finger, your thumb, and then do it on the edge. You want to just prevent of getting any creases inside on the paper itself. All right, just kind of pull that tight. And that is pretty much it right there. That's what my cup looks like before it goes in the oven. I put obviously shrink wrap on it. All right, when I put the shrink wrap on it, there's a seam on the shrink wrap where the two pieces of shrink wrap come together. I matched that up with the tape. All right, so when I put it on there, I've got the seam on top of the tape. Then I take a black Sharpie magic marker and mark the back of the cup so that I know that the tape, when I put it in there, the tape is facing straight up and down at first. Put the oven on 350 degrees, let it preheat. Make sure you have a thermometer inside the oven. That is key. You've got to have that because the dial is going to lie to you. Even though it says 350 on the dial, when you put a thermometer in there, it's going to be off. My old oven would tell me that it was 250 degrees. I'd have to put it on 250 degrees to get it at 350. The new oven that I have, when I set it on 300 and when I set it on 350, it goes to actually 400. So you have to have a thermometer inside. Put your timer on 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Put it in for that time with the seam facing up, or you can face it down, whichever, just so you know how it's orientated. When the timer goes off, rotate the cup 180 degrees. Let's do it this way. 180 degrees so that your mark is now facing down. All right, another 2 minutes and 30 seconds. When the timer goes off, I like to rotate it another 90 degrees to the left or to the right, doesn't matter. Okay, 30 seconds, count it off in your head. And then when you're done with that 30 seconds, rotate it 90 degrees, or 180, I should say, over to the other side. You don't have to do that. I do that, and I get really good results. Yeah, of course, I do screw up sometimes, but this is just my method. I'm not saying it's the right method, but it's the way that it works for me, and I've done hundreds of cups. Hundreds, probably over 1,000, I'm sure. And anyways, that's pretty much it. I know a lot of people ask me questions or for videos in the past, and I apologize. I was really tied up making cups through the holidays. But if you have any questions, you can post them down below in the comments, and I'll try to help you out as best as I can. All right, I'm going to leave this, save it to a post, and hopefully it helps everybody out. Let me see if I can turn this camera up. All right, bye guys. See you later. I drew this pattern on the table so I would remember when I had that line facing in the number 1 position. Next would be 2, then 3, then 4, because sometimes I would forget where I had it last. So I had to write something down, and then now it's kind of burned in my memory. But okay, so I marked the tumbler first. I put a line on the back and down the middle. This is my pattern that I do. So number 1, the line points to the top, and then I flip it to the bottom after 2 minutes 30 seconds. And then it goes quarter turn to the right, 90 degrees to number 3, and then back to